Welcome to Payback with Silas. Every day, a new story, lies, betrayal, payback. Let's begin.
You take your job too seriously, Alden. This isn't a safety seminar, it's a drilling rig. That's what Cole Parson, the new site director, told me 2 days before he fired me. After 31 years in the oil field, that's what I got, a smirk and a brush off from a guy half my age who still called steel-toed boots overkill. It wasn't the first time I'd heard someone try to belittle what I do. But it was the first time I realized, in their eyes, I was already gone. I was 55 years old. Not loud. Not flashy. I don't do backslapping or beers after shift. But I know this work. I've smelled a faulty valve before it burst. I've felt the wrong kind of vibration in the floor just by walking across it. And I've seen people die. That's not drama. That's just the truth. It's why I check every pressure gauge, every hydraulic line, every emergency cutoff, even if it takes me 2 extra hours at the end of shift. But none of that mattered to Parson. We were stationed out in the Delaware Basin, West Texas. The summer had been brutal, record heat, equipment straining against itself, crews running shifts on 4 hours of sleep. And Cole. He'd been dropped in straight from corporate like a rock into a quiet pond. He talked fast, smiled wide, and hated delays. I first clashed with him over a routine inspection. I had flagged a minor leak in the annular preventer, something that could spiral into a blowout if ignored. He told me to log it and move on. I told him we needed to pause drilling until the replacement seal arrived. He laughed and said, "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. We're behind quota. That kind of decision comes from the top." I stared at him, dead in the eye. Pressure? I've stood 20 feet from a gas kick at midnight. Don't talk to me about pressure. That was the beginning of the end. After that, he started CCing me less on safety memos. My reports got shorter and shorter responses. Sometimes just a thumbs-up emoji. Then came the whispers. Young guys like Dalton and Reyes, solid workers, good kids, started avoiding me. I heard them say things like, "Alden's gonna red flag the whole damn platform again." They were tired. Scared to lose hours. I don't blame them. That's how it works, make the guy who's trying to do it right look like he's the problem. What no one knew was this. I was logging everything. Every missed inspection. Every shortcut. Every time Cole overrode a safety halt. And I wasn't just saving it on my clipboard. I was sending it to someone I met 20 years ago. Darlene Maddox. Now the senior regional safety officer at Petrocor Global, our parent company. She once told me, "If you ever smell bullshit on a rig, Alden, don't wait for the wind to shift. Send it straight to me." And I did. The day I got fired was quiet. Too quiet. Cole didn't even let me finish my coffee. He called me into the container office, sat with that smug smile, and said, "You're a liability. Too many delays, too much second guessing. It's time we move in a faster direction. We're letting you go, effective immediately." I stood up. Didn't argue. Didn't ask for a second chance. I just nodded once and said, "I hope you never have to find out why I check things twice." I walked to my bunk, packed my bag. No one said a word. Not even Dalton. Just the sound of drills whining in the distance. But I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. Because I had already sent my final report to Darlene. And in that report was something none of them knew I had discovered the week before. Unauthorized suppression of a BOP alarm during a critical surge. An automatic safety override had been manually disabled. I signed it with my name, my certification number. And one final sentence. Immediate audit required. Lives are at risk. I was halfway through New Mexico when I got the call. I remember it exactly, mile marker 287, black coffee in the cup holder, and a beat-up duffel bag in the back seat of my truck. Unknown number. Virginia area code. I picked up. Yeah. Her voice hadn't changed one bit. Jesus, Alden. You weren't kidding. It was Darlene Maddox, Senior Regional Safety Officer at Petrocor Global. A woman who once shut down an entire offshore project in Louisiana over a missing maintenance log. She wasn't calling to ask if I was okay. She was calling because I had just lit a match under $1 million operation. You realize what this means, she said. You sent me documented evidence of a site director overriding a blowout preventer alarm. That's a felony under both federal and internal safety code. I took a breath. I sent it because I've seen what happens when people look the other way. She didn't respond right away. Then. Okay. Here's what happens now. Within 24 hours, Darlene initiated a Level 3 audit of the Parson Ridge operation, the very site I'd just been fired from. But they didn't come in with clipboards and hard hats. They came quietly. Corporate's Audit Task Force, 2 guys and a woman dressed like contractors, walked the rig 2 days later under the pretense of an equipment calibration check. Cole Parson didn't suspect a thing. That's the mistake arrogant men make. They think the worst consequences come with sirens and headlines. They don't. They come with clipboards and silence. I kept my phone off. I wasn't going to get dragged into the noise. Instead, I took a contract job out in Wyoming for a private drilling firm. Small crew. Old school management. Real safety culture. They brought me on as a consultant, no pressure, no politics. It felt good to breathe again. But I knew something was happening when I got a message from Dalton, one of the roustabouts back on Parson Ridge. Just 2 words. Dude. Audit. I didn't reply. He didn't need me to. A few days later, I got a secure email from Darlene. Inside was a summary of the initial findings. 3 instances of unauthorized alarm suppression. Missing documentation of 2 required blowout preventer tests. Falsified crew safety briefing logs. 5 forged digital signatures. Multiple violations of API Standard 53 and OSHA 1910.119. And at the bottom. Preliminary recommendation, full shutdown pending investigation. Site Director Cole Parson to be placed on administrative leave effective immediately. I didn't cheer. Didn't fist pump or gloat. I just sat on the edge of my cot in a rented trailer in Wyoming and stared at that sentence. Because it meant one thing. The system still works, if you feed it truth. And I had done that. I heard through the grapevine later. Cole tried to spin it. Tried to claim the logs were altered without his knowledge. Tried to pin it on overzealous field techs. But that's the thing about truth, it doesn't bend for convenience. And the audit team had time-stamped data. Access logs. Camera feeds. They knew who had entered override codes. They had screenshots. They had my report. Before the week was over, Cole's name was removed from the Petrocor org chart. Not reassigned. Not transferred. Removed. And me? I got another call from Darlene. You free next month? Maybe. We're opening a new site in Alaska. North Slope. Top grade team. They want someone like you leading safety. Not just checking boxes, changing culture. I didn't answer right away. But something inside me, something I hadn't felt in years, stirred back to life. Maybe I wasn't done after all. Alaska. Nothing prepares you for how still it is out there. Like the earth's holding its breath. I landed at Deadhorse on a clear morning in October. No crowds. No noise. Just the crunch of snow and the slow churn of a diesel rig in the distance. The project was called Valkyrie 7, Petrocor's newest high-efficiency Arctic operation. High stakes. High visibility. And after the audit fallout in Texas, they wanted everything done by the book. That's why they brought me in. Not as a tech. Not even as a supervisor. As Director of Safety Operations for the entire site. I walked in with my nameplate already on the door. But I didn't care about that. What mattered was this: I finally had the authority to do the job the way it should be done. The first crew meeting didn't go like you'd expect. There were about 30 of them, rig hands, drill operators, logistics guys, techs from 6 different states. Most of them younger than me. A few looked suspicious already. I introduced myself with just one line. I'm not here to slow you down. I'm here to make sure you get home. Then I handed out a stack of binders. Not corporate manuals, actual safety scenarios from real sites. Stuff I'd lived through. Stuff I'd lost people to. One of the guys, tall, lean, Tennessee drawl, raised his hand. What's this, school? I looked him square in the eye. School teaches you how to pass. This teaches you how not to die. No one laughed. And that was the moment I knew I had them. Over the next few weeks, we built something rare: mutual respect. I didn't breathe down their necks, but I didn't let anything slide either. I stopped work twice over minor faults in electrical insulation. I pulled a shift supervisor aside when I saw a missed PPE check. And you know what happened? They started doing the checks before I got to them. Not out of fear, out of pride. Because I made it clear, this isn't a place where we hide mistakes. This is a place where we fix them before they become funerals. Then came Reyes. Yeah, that Reyes. One of the roustabouts from Parson Ridge. Apparently, after the audit fallout, he left and retrained as a field mechanic. I saw his name on the rotation list and nearly dropped my coffee. When he saw me in the brake trailer, his face went stiff. He walked up, hat in hand. I didn't stand up for you, Alden. Back in Texas. I should've. I looked at him. Didn't say anything for a second. Then just nodded. You're here now. That's what matters. We had a near miss in mid-November. Pressure spike on well 3A. Could have been bad. But because the system had been tested daily, and because Reyes had flagged a valve irregularity the day before, we shut it down in under 4 minutes. No one got hurt. No equipment lost. No downtime longer than 6 hours. When corporate heard about it, they didn't send a reprimand. They sent a commendation letter, with my name, and Reyes's, on the same line. One night, after a long shift, I stood out on the helipad, looking out over the dark tundra. The wind was sharp, but I didn't feel it. I felt something else. Peace. I thought about Cole Parson. About the way he dismissed me. About the way people laughed behind my back for being too careful. And then I thought about this crew. This rig. This moment. And I realized something. They didn't just give me a new job. They gave me my name back. The email came in on a Sunday. No subject line. No company header. Just a name. Dalton Meyer. It had been almost 5 months since Parson Ridge. I hadn't heard from him since that one-word message, audit. But this time, it wasn't cryptic. It was an apology. And a cry for help. Alden, I know I didn't speak up when I should have. You were right. We all knew it. But now they've shifted us to East Hidalgo. It's a nightmare. No inspections, no shutdowns. We had a crew hand fall through a faulty catwalk last week. He'll never walk again. They said it was his fault. I need to talk to someone who gives a damn. Are you still that guy? I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I doubted what I'd do, but because I remembered what it felt like to be him. Isolated. Angry. Powerless. And still hoping that someone out there still believed in doing the right thing. I called him that night. He answered on the first ring. Alden. Still that guy, I said. He didn't cry. But his voice cracked. He told me everything. How, after the audit, Petrocore had tried to quietly shuffle everyone from Parson Ridge into other sites. No real accountability. No systemic change. Same shortcuts. Same silence. Different zip code. I asked him if he documented anything. He said yes, photos, logs, even videos of ignored hazards. I told him to send them. Not to me, but directly to Darlene. Same encrypted channel. Same format. He hesitated. What if they fire me too? I told him the truth. They might. But if someone ends up in a body bag because you didn't speak, it'll weigh more than a pink slip ever will. 2 days later, I got a call from Darlene. You lit another fuse, Alden. She sounded tired, but determined. She'd just gotten Dalton's files. They were damning. A documented cover-up of a major fall hazard. Supervisors signing off on shift clearances without even being on site. One report showing a missing fire suppression unit near a high-voltage generator room. And just like before, the engine started turning. Quiet. Methodical. Unstoppable. That week, I flew down to Denver for a Petrocore Safety Council summit. They'd asked me to speak, not just as a department head, but as a survivor of the system's blind spots. I didn't prepare slides. Didn't quote statistics. I just told the truth. We don't get second chances in this work. One cut corner, one it'll be fine, and someone dies. You don't just owe diligence to the company. You owe it to the guy working 10 feet below you, and the one coming in on night shift, and the one who hasn't seen his daughter in 3 weeks. Safety isn't a policy. It's a contract. One that you either honor, or break. Room went silent. Then they stood. Afterward, a man in a Navy Petrocore vest approached me. Didn't recognize him at first. Then I saw the name patch. Marshall. One of the execs who used to sign off on Cole Parsons' budget. Used to roll his eyes at long inspection reports. He stuck out his hand. Alden. I misjudged you. We all did. I shook it. Didn't smile. Just said. A lot of people are still paying for those misjudgments. He nodded. No excuses. No defense. Just that kind of silence that only comes from being punched in the soul. Weeks later, I heard that Dalton had been quietly transferred, this time up, not sideways. He's now in charge of hazard oversight on a new exploratory rig in Colorado. He sent me one last message. You were right. It's not about being liked. It's about being able to sleep at night. That night in Alaska, I sat on the porch of the operations trailer. Reyes joined me, handed me a cup of coffee. We sat there watching the horizon fade into dark. And I realized. Even when you think you're forgotten. Even when they treat you like a relic. You might be the only thing keeping the damn structure from falling apart. And eventually, someone remembers who built it right in the first place. I was reviewing a fault tree report in the comms trailer when the sat phone rang. Not my work line. Not Darlene. A direct line from Petrocore's executive offices. I hadn't even known I still had a number listed there. I answered. Alden Trace. Speaking. This is Kenneth Halbridge. VP of Field Operations. I believe you've had contact with our safety division. No kidding. We've been reviewing your protocol drafts and incident strategies from Valkyrie 7. Your name's come up a lot lately, in very positive ways. He cleared his throat, like he wasn't used to giving compliments. I'd like to meet. In Houston. Our HQ. One-on-one. To discuss a role. 2 days later I flew south, 40 degrees to -4, and not just the weather. Houston was polished steel and glass. Clean collars. Polite lies. Not like the rigs. Not like the grit. Halbridge greeted me in a private conference room overlooking downtown. Suits everywhere. I felt out of place in my field jacket. I wore it anyway. He didn't waste time. We want you in charge of corporate safety integration. Nationwide. All rigs, all zones. Top-down reform. Reporting directly to me. I blinked. That wasn't a job. That was a war post. He leaned forward. The Cole Parsons of the company, we want them gone. But we need people like you with backbone. Not paper pushers. Field people who earned every scar. I didn't answer right away. He filled the silence. Double your current salary. Full relocation. Team of 15 under you. You'd have the authority you always should have had. And there it was. Everything I'd fought for, handed to me. But I didn't say yes. I went back to Alaska and walked Valkyrie 7-1 last time. Watched Reyes train a new guy on pressure differential checks like a surgeon. Saw the crew pause mid-meal to review a last-minute inspection notice, and no one complained. Heard Dalton's name mentioned by another rookie from Colorado, who said, I heard he trained under Alden Trace. And something hit me. It wasn't just about me being heard anymore. Other people had found their voices too. Maybe that was enough. Or maybe it was just the beginning. I called Halbridge the next week. Told him I'd accept the role, on one condition. I wanted complete authority to overhaul the internal whistleblower system. Anonymity. Direct reporting channels. No middle managers. I wanted every young worker who saw something wrong to be able to say something, and know it wouldn't end their job. He paused. That's bold. So is losing your crew in an explosion. He approved it within the hour. Today, I don't wear a hard hat every day. Some days I sit in meetings. Some days I fly. Some days I'm back in steel toes and a harness, boots on the deck of a mid-ocean jackup, listening to some 24-year-old hand explain how he found a defect in the kill line. And I always say the same thing. Thank you. You did the right thing. Because that's how it spreads. Not with force, but with trust. They fired me once for caring too much. Now I run the damn safety department. And the best part? They didn't change me. I changed them.